Hello, I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. I wanted to give you a brief report of what has happened, and also especially I wanted to thank absolutely everybody who actually followed my request and wrote to the German ambassador, Dr. Otto Lampe, because as you might know, I'm now in Switzerland. I'm a German citizen. My targeting started in Britain in 2011, but followed me to Germany, and for several years, for 2.5 years in Germany, I was attacked there, and my medical sabotage started in Germany, as well as irradiation to my heart, to my head, irradiation from a helicopter. So there's a clear German link to this. Also, when I was targeted, I lived literally 1.5 kilometers away from the sprawling site of the Bundesnachrichtendienst. And I actually think that it was, it's impossible for another sort of intelligence agency to just irradiate a person, a German citizen, 1 kilometer from the Bundesnachrichtendienst. I don't think a helicopter could ever fly within 1 kilometer of the Bundesnachrichtendienst without them knowing about it. So if I get irradiated from a helicopter, it is pretty clear it's the Bundesnachrichtendienst doing it themselves. So this is the story, and now I live in Switzerland. And after a break-in, when I threatened to report the break-in to the police, I was assaulted with microwaves demonstratively for the first time. Really openly, so that I actually realized, oh my god, this is a microwave beam. That was in January 2016, and since January, inside my home, I have been tortured, I have been mutilated, I've been maimed, I had to seek medical attention several times because of the damages that I received. And I'm now desperately appealing to the German ambassador after the Swiss police refused to investigate, the normal local Swiss police, the Kriminalpolizei of my canton. They refused to investigate. They refused to even take further evidence from me. They literally refused to hear me as a witness. So it is pretty shocking corruption we're dealing with here. And because there's a link to Germany, and to the German intelligence agency, I really think that it also has to be, my case has to be resolved by Germans as well. So this is the logic behind contacting the ambassador. First of all, according to consular law, paragraph 5, article 1 and 3, he is obliged to help me as a German citizen if the situation cannot be resolved by other means. That is what's said in the in consular law. And also it says that the type of help, what shape or form or extent it takes, is entirely dependent on the actual detailed situations. And given that I have tried to resolve this, my case, with the the Swiss police, the criminal police, as well as with the Attorney General here in Switzerland, who has also declined to do anything, my last resort really is the German ambassador. I am assaulted 24/7, so round the clock inside my home, from beam lines that are placed in, beam lines leading to emitters placed in next door houses. I, of course, as a civilian, cannot go into these homes and have these removed. I tried to talk to my neighbors, and I heard the most extraordinary things, but either way, it has to be resolved professionally, and this is military equipment that we're dealing with. So actually the German embassy in Bern has not just the ambassador, it also has the military attaché. So he is in charge of all things military, and microwave weapons, being still partially classified, fall entirely within his remit. So if there's anybody who has access to the measuring equipment, the expertise behind what type of weapons are being used against German citizens here. I know I'm not the only victim here, but I'm one victim. Well, the person with the expertise is the military attaché residing in the embassy in Bern and working with the German ambassador, Dr. Otto Lampe. So Dr. Otto Lampe has got a double or triple reason to help me. Number one, I'm a German citizen and he's bound by consular law to assist. Number two, every embassy is partially staffed by, if not entirely, but certainly has excellent links to German foreign intelligence, which is the Bundesnachrichtendienst. So the person who could liaise with them and have these horrendous crimes finally shut down would be the ambassador for that reason. And for the third reason is that he literally sits next to the military attaché in the same building, and the military attaché has the expertise about these microwave weapons and all other electromagnetic fancy weapons that we're talking about here. So for these 3 reasons, I believe that Dr. Otto Lampe really has to get going on this case. I have contacted the consulate in my canton, as well as the embassy in Bern back in April. That was before my hip was damaged, before my knee was damaged, before my thyroid was irradiated for months, before my eyes were damaged, before my kidney was damaged, and before my kidney and my heart and my back and every other organ had been irradiated for several months. Back in April, he refused to help. I contacted him several times again. Last time in September, he refused to help. In October again, he refused to help. The last letter I received, they said that they refused to help because I am not in financial difficulties and I do not want to go back to Germany. Well, this is missing the point. I have fled to Germany and I've been attacked seamlessly across the border, crossing the border, and attacked in Germany as well. So this falls again squarely into the remit of German intelligence. These are military weapons. They are applied to civilians. So this is German intelligence. If it starts abroad and follows you into Germany, it is German foreign intelligence who's responsible for this. So whichever way we turn it, it's, you know, his job to do that. It's not to move me around so that I don't fall within his circuit. It's to have this problem resolved. That is basically my point. So this is the backstory, and I've requested that people, you know, who know about these crimes, people who maybe have expertise or are victims, or people who just care about democracy and care about the fact that civilians really shouldn't be tested upon or hounded or maimed and tortured or, you know, driven to death with these weapons, should speak up. If you're one of those people, please, you know, I said, please speak up, please write to the ambassador, and many people have contacted me, and I'm so grateful that you all wrote to him. And it had a massive effect, actually, and the effect might be surprising to hear, but there is a definite difference you made, and that is because I fled to the embassy on Friday, last Friday, and it was after brutal assaults here at home that I really thought, you know, I can't take this anymore. I'm alone at home, I've got nowhere to go. So eventually I thought, right, that's it, I'm going to go and report this to the embassy. By the time I arrived, because of the traffic jams into Bern, it was already closed. So I approached them and I called the emergency helpline, which is given at the gate. And no one responded. I got through to a voice box, and to this day no one has actually returned my call begging for help. So the actual emergency phone line of the embassy is either highly selective and I'm not German enough for them, or just plainly not working. But fortunately at the gate last Friday, I rang the bell, and then eventually Michael Cantzler came out, and he is the Sicherheitsbeauftragte, so he's the guy in charge of security at the embassy, amongst others. He's also in charge of the economic exchanges and the economic work of the embassy, but also in charge of security. And I spoke to him and I described what happened to him, and I explained the attacks, and I explained how they started in Germany. And I said to him, based on that, I would say that I am being attacked by the BND, by German foreign intelligence. And his response was, yes, you're probably right. So I had that confirmed by the Sicherheitsbeauftragte, and it is good, and it's very honest of him. He also wasn't surprised to hear about microwave weapons. And of course the embassies know about microwave weapons, because I think it was the US embassy in Moscow which was irradiated quite famously with microwave weapons. So they all hear about this as part of their education, as part of their training. But furthermore, I also know from Ms Richter, who is the founder and the head of ICATOR, a charity that helps victims of the intelligence agencies and victims of this irradiation, that essentially in Belgium a lady also approached the German embassies. She's a German citizen as well. She's attacked like I am, and the German embassy also refused to help. So independently of what Michael Cantzler says, I do know that the embassies know about microwave weapons, and you know, we can all figure out who is responsible for these. So in a sense, he didn't do any harm. He didn't say something that wasn't already public knowledge, but he really helped me a lot, because at least I could speak to a human being, you know, on that really, really cold Friday afternoon, standing outside the embassy in a total panic. So I'm really grateful for that. And then he told me to come back during the opening hours. So I returned on Monday, that was yesterday, and I was allowed to go into the embassy building. And there I spoke with a lady who, you know, to whom I actually explained everything. So I explained what was happening to me, and what exactly I observed and what my evidence was. And I gave a list of the people who I know to have died, to have been partially murdered. I mean, not they themselves partially murdered, but some of these people were murdered. Some of these people died of the consequences of the electromagnetic irradiation. And I gave her those details, and I described how I'd contacted the police here in Switzerland, in Germany, and the UK, and they all refused to investigate. The Attorney Generals of Switzerland and the UK also refused to investigate. That I'd been to the High Court, and the High Court refused to actually follow this up or give me the opportunity to actually, you know, collect evidence unattacked and then submit it to the court. So I explained all that, and then she said, okay, they are going to look into it. And I explained just how urgent it is, because as soon as I leave the embassy building, I will be attacked again, and I will be certainly attacked at home. And she said, no, they are going to look into it, and she said she's going to pass it on, this information. Well, what happened after that is that I drove back. So on the way to Bern, I was already microwaved in driving my car on the motorway, microwaved on the back of the head, excuse me, on the side of the head, on the front of the head. I also received painful pulses. So people who are attacked with electromagnetic weapons know that there are different modes of attack, and depending on what mode they use, what beam shape, what do they use, pulses or just continuous beams, what you feel changes. So, you know, I had it all. I had the kind of diffuse, fairly large area sort of irradiation on my head, which creates this feeling of a headache or some pressure and like discomfort on your head, with your skin also aching on the back of your skull. I also had pulsed shots, and that really feels like someone has just shot a pulse through your head, which is precisely what they do, which is why it feels like that, and all these things. And also I had painful pencil beams, which were dug into my neck. So on the way there, it was on the right hand side, so next to the spine, it painfully dug into the right hand side, and on the way, sorry, this is the left, the left hand side, and on the way back on the right hand side as well. So depending on, you know, how the software, targeting software is set up, you kind of get, you know, harassed in roughly the same position, but not always exactly the same. So as soon as I left the embassy building and returned, I usually get attacked on the motorway, and I think that's because there you're driving for a long time, kind of in a straight line. You're easily predictable for the software, and, you know, in a sense, the view is clear, and they are not hitting other people. If they do, they can kind of estimate, you know, who is going to be hit. And this is essentially what happened. So I was microwaved with a painful pencil beam next to the spine in the neck, driving back home. I was also shot at with pulses, painfully driving back home. When I arrived here at home, it again continued. I received, so the actual, this is how you can tell that they've got certain beam lines set up, because if it was just satellites and they do the same thing everywhere, then you wouldn't see these subtle differences. But I do see subtle differences. So the way I'm attacked in my home is fundamentally different from how I'm being attacked when I'm driving my car, or if I'm in a public space, and that's basically what it comes down to. So then at home I was really brutally attacked. So yesterday trying to work and make progress was agonizing. Also overnight I was brutally attacked. So I put down the shielding, and I basically sleep in a triangle when I'm at home. And now I'm basically alone. So then at night I get absolutely brutally assaulted. So this morning I woke up and they had damaged my kidney, because sometimes there are gaps in the shielding, and depending on what they can hit, they'll just hit me. So this morning I woke up and my kidney and my entire side had been brutally damaged, really, so that, you know, for half the day I was just walking around with an ache. And it took me quite some time to recover from last night, because the other thing that they also do is that essentially muscle pulsing. I'm not sure if they use straight pulses or just, you know, controlling my brain remotely. I think they might be using a combination of the two. But when I fall asleep, they start jerking me around. They start basically just flicking muscles, which feels like someone is literally flicking their fingers. And try falling asleep while someone is just keeps flicking you. So that's what they do, and that's what was the harassment last night. And this morning, they also have this pattern whereby they wake me up half an hour before my alarm goes off. So I've got the alarm set on a mobile phone, so of course they can see at what time I plan to get up, and they wake me half an hour before. And that's what they did this morning as well. They woke me up, and usually the waking up, it feels like getting a pulse to the head. You really get electroshock to the head. So that's how I woke up this morning. What they did then is that they start moving my limbs around. So they started jerking my leg against my will. Then they moved my hand against my will, and they started jerking my shoulder. And it's literally just like, come on, get up, get up. This is what it feels like, and that's very much what is intended. I tried to ignore it and just to, you know, turn around, and then they really painfully drilled into my hip, and then I noticed that actually where they drilled into my hip, there was a gap in the shielding, so, you know, they just shot straight through. I closed the shielding and I was trying to sleep. Then they microwaved my toes. Again, they were sticking out from under the shielding, so that was microwaved. Again, agonizing pain, and then, you know, again they started jerking my limbs, and on it went. So I think this harassment went for an entire half an hour where I was really trying to sleep. So this is how I woke up. This is the sort of Nazi degenerate torture the intelligence agencies are engaging in. So this, for those people who haven't heard my videos before, this is British intelligence, German intelligence, and Swiss intelligence are for sure involved in my case. And these men are utterly so degenerate that they amuse themselves with just harassing women, essentially, mostly women, also guys, but especially women. And this is like a normal day. So right now, as I'm talking to you, my head is hurting because there's some sort of beam again being drilled into my head. The shielding right now is not here, so it seems to come from the window. And on it goes. So under these circumstances, you know, that was the situation yesterday when I told the embassy. This is essentially the BND doing it, right? So Dr. Otto Lampe essentially has to pick up a phone, call Dr. Bruno Kahl, the head of the BND, and ask for the bullcrap to be stopped. This is a phone conversation of at most 20 minutes. The BND knows about me. I have contacted them directly and asked to cease a long time ago, and they have not. They, in a sense, they punished me with damaging my hip in response. But literally all Dr. Otto Lampe has to do is pick up the bloody phone. And he's not willing to do that. He's not willing to do that. He wasn't willing to do that yesterday, even though he had, you know, heads up, because I talked to Michael Cantzler on Friday. He knows what this is about. And then today I returned to the embassy to hear what's happening, and I made this appeal last night, and many people replied and said, yes, we have written to them, to him, to Dr. Otto Lampe, and I'm so grateful because I could see a marked difference. So yesterday when I went into the embassy, I was allowed all in. They spoke to me, they said they're going to look into it. And today when I went to the embassy, the tone had changed, and it was very icy. So again, I was at the gate. The receptionist who has essentially the CCTV view of the camera that's outside the gate saw me. I spoke to him yesterday. Today he pretended like he's never seen me before, but the gate was opened and I was allowed to go all the way in, not into the embassy main building, so the actual building, the front door. I was allowed in all the way up to the receptionist, but today I was not allowed in. the receptionist, who was really nice yesterday, was super icy today. He dealt with me as if he'd never heard about me before. I showed my passport again, that I'm a German citizen. He said, I don't have an appointment. I said, well, I spoke to the lady yesterday. I have been attacked last night again. I was there with literally half my side burning as they just microwaved my body so hard last night that I woke up in an ache. And he said, no, I don't have an appointment, and that I should immediately leave the embassy building. Okay, it sounds bad, but it's actually, it shows progress, because it shows that they have understood that this problem is real. If this problem weren't real, you could just, you know, wave people away, but they have actually understood this problem is real, and that's actually thanks to all of you. This shouldn't scare people. In my experience, every single time I deal with a corrupted and degenerate organization, that is exactly the pattern. So first it's denial, then they realize, so the realization phase comes, and it's followed by essentially aggression. So we're now to phase 2, and at least we have moved on to phase 2. And after phase 2 comes 3, which is acquiescence, you know, then you can work with them. And it's the same over and over and over, right? With British Telecom, with all other mobile phone providers, with my gas company, with electricity company, everybody. This is how it works. So in human systems, this is normal, but I'm happy to announce that we've moved on to stage 2, which is blank aggression. But I did get something useful out of this gentleman, because yesterday I forgot to ask who the lady was whom I spoke to yesterday. And so I asked the receptionist, who was really insistent that I immediately leave the building. I mean, it's quite something when you get treated. Literally, I'm just a woman going for help, and I'm treated as if I was literally the biggest security issue in the building at that moment. You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they expect I'm gonna do. I just want to talk to them, but literally these men freak out, and that's quite normal. But then I said, okay, I will leave the building, but could you please tell me who the lady was with whom I spoke yesterday? And he said that was Mrs. or Miss Richter. So that's spelled R-I-C-H-T-E-R, Richter. It actually means judge in German, so it's Mrs. Judge. And I spoke to Ms Richter yesterday. So she is the person who said that she's going to deal with this. And then I said, okay, is Ms Richter there today? And the receptionist said, no, she's not. She is on holiday. So it could very well be, because it's before Christmas, you see. So it could be that Ms Richter was there, and it's, you know, by pure coincidence today she's already on holiday. And I am, you know, willing to believe that. So you know, and then I left the building. As the door opened, it just so happened that another lady who works at the embassy, who I've seen on Monday, she came through the door, and you know, I've certainly seen her inside the building, so she's definitely staffed. Kind of blonde, short hair, glasses. And I said to her, oh, by the way, do you happen to know when Ms Richter is going to come back from the holiday? And she looked at me, she's like, no. But from her response, I think I can confirm that Ms Richter actually does exist, that it is her name, and that I think she usually does work at the embassy. So I think this is just little, you know, Captain Cross checks I do. So I think what the receptionist says was the truth. My case is being handled by Ms Richter, and it's the fact that I have appeared yesterday at the embassy begging for help has caused such a fuss that today I'm already considered, you know, state enemy #1 as far as the embassy of Bern is concerned. And that's okay. So as I keep saying, this is normal. This isn't, it sounds totally fucked up, but from what I have seen of not just, you know, organizations, human organizations, but also especially men of a certain age, you know, that is entirely normal. They do first utterly crap themselves when a situation like that arises. So, you know, when you're dealing with men, the first reaction is not, oh shit, okay, let's solve the problem as quickly as possible to have it off my desk. No, the first thing is to crap themselves, to deny the problem exists, then try to pass it on to somebody else, then think of a list of reasons why not to do it. And then eventually, if everything fails, they will do something. So as far as I'm concerned, we have successfully moved past the first stage, which is just blank denial and like we're not hearing anything. So now they have taken it in, and now they're in the we're really scared phase. So today I've just been turned away. I'll let them just figure it out. It might take quite a lot of, you know, phone calls to just figure out the bleeding obvious that stopping this bullshit might be the best thing. So I'll let it settle, and then I'll see what happens. What I expect will happen next is that we'll go through this list that I've just described, which is first of all just not admit that there's a problem. Then second of all, try to pass it on to somebody else. So I'm just already looking forward to finding out who else they will think of to pass it on to, because the obvious ones are the local Swiss police, but they already rejected it. The canton police has rejected it, the Attorney General has rejected it, so it's back to them really. But maybe they're really creative and they think of, I don't know, a group of fairies or something that I can contact. And then after that it will be why it's not actually their job. And then eventually when we're through that, they might get going. So, you know, I know it sounds disappointing at first, but trust me, this is just how men work. I've seen it at St. John's College, I've seen it over and over, and actually today, just seeing them utterly crap themselves and throw me out of the building is already progress. So that's much, much better than what I had before. So all I can say is to all the victims in Switzerland, if you are a German citizen, now is the time to also do what I did and go back and have a chat to Dr. Otto Lampe, try to get into the embassy building. There are two buildings, one of them is for the passports and so on, but the other one is the main building where all these big dogs are sitting. And so go to the building that's opposite the one for passports. It's just a gate. It's the building that's on the embassy website, photographed, and just ring the doorbell until somebody opens. Just keep ringing the doorbell until they open. As a German citizen, they have to deal with you. Yes, and you can try the emergency number, and if you've got more success, let me know. Now, to all German citizens who are victims of the intelligence agencies in other countries, as I said, a lady in Belgium has already approached the Belgian ambassador. I would also urge you to please approach your ambassador, wherever you are in the country, and mention to them that already the ambassador to Switzerland has a case like that on his hands, and that the German ambassador to Belgium also had a case like that on his hands. So these are the news from the embassy. Don't be disappointed. This is, honestly, I tell you, this is already progress. Also, the Auswaertiges Amt has been notified. If they manage to ignore my tweets, that's I don't put it past them, because these organizations work very in very mysterious ways. I shall try to contact them directly and speak to them themselves, but otherwise it's all good. So these are the news. I also I mean, as I said, I was really badly attacked on the kidney. So I had to, after coming back from Bern, I had to go to my doctor and have a checkup. But the good news is that my kidney function seems to be okay at this point. But of course, the long-term effects are essentially cancer and so on. So right now, my kidney is still functional, but let's just see. The other problem I have is that essentially after several nights, my head was attacked. I wasn't wearing head protection. And when I don't wear I was literally just under this like shielding triangle. And when I do not wear aluminium head protection to bed, they have a habit of just attacking my head. And they attacked my head the last couple of nights so badly that essentially in my right hand, like down to roughly here, I've just got pins and needles. So there's some sort of damage in my hand unfolding here. Yeah. And that's basically it. So this is what it's like being abused by the intelligence agencies and your own government systems being so corrupt that they don't do it properly. But don't worry, so essentially we're dealing with a criminally captured system and we have to recapture it. So what we're doing now is running the program for capture, and that means literally just taking these people who are in charge and reminding them one by one that it is their duty. I can put out a more detailed video about how to recapture a system, but essentially everybody, don't panic, just please stick together, please keep an eye on me. If you haven't contacted the ambassador yet, then please do. It's not too late. In fact, we have just gotten started with him. Okay, we have just gotten started. So if you sent him a message already, why not resend it? It's just copy and paste. It takes you 2 minutes. Just, you know, because we're also before Christmas, and maybe he could be so charitable as to just pick up the phone and talk to Dr. Bruno Kahl himself, you know, as a kind of like charitable gesture before Christmas, because we are still Christian countries and we still have some values. So, you know, maybe we can get it through to this man. Also, if you are a victim, do vent what has happened to you to this man. I think he should know that I'm not the only person, and that now we are not ashamed anymore. Now we're not going to be cowed. This whole mental health bullshit is over. I told you it's over. It's that far too many female victims for it to be schizophrenia or paranoia. No, it is just literally just the weapons industry working together with the secret services. And I know it's scary. I know that, you know, these guys basically don't seem to have any bollocks. That too is normal. But maybe if we keep, you know, talking to them, maybe one day they'll find them in maybe their sock drawer, and then we can do some progress. So thank you so much for your help. If you sent a message, just resend it so that they get it. If you haven't sent a message, don't be shy. Just send it. Just send it. Just be honest and say these problems have to be resolved, right? For all those intelligence agents who are told by their handler to spam Dr. Otto Lampe, I urge you to resist the command from your handlers, because these are serious matters, and I think the German ambassador has got better things to do than read bullshit messages from little MI6 grunts. I really do think so. So let's all work together and let's stay positive, and let's just try to resolve this in a civilized manner. And if you have written to me, I thank you from the depths of my heart. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll do my best to help you as well in turn. So thanks everyone, and stay tuned. Bye for now.